the overseas service of the Korean Broadcasting System, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of the Republic of Korea. We now begin today's English broadcast on KBS World Radio.
From Seoul, Korea, KBS World Radio News starts right now. On today's broadcast, President Moon Jae-in orders a reform of livestock industry management following the contaminated egg scandal. Standard & Poor's maintains South Korea's credit rating despite heightened tension on the Korean peninsula, and China reportedly begins enforcing an import embargo on North Korea in accordance with new UN sanctions. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Kurt Ashen. A Cheongwade official says President Moon Jae-in intends to fundamentally reform the nation's livestock industry amid the contaminated egg scandal. The official said the president believes fundamental structural changes are necessary to resolve problems like the pesticide contamination once and for all. The president is urging all ministries to do their best to deal with the ongoing crisis under Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon's leadership. Nearly 60% of egg-producing chicken farms that used harmful pesticides are found to have obtained a government sanitation certification. The Food and Drug Safety Ministry says 29 out of 49 farms found unfit in government inspections related to pesticide-tainted eggs had nonetheless received an HACCP, or Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points certificate. HACCP is a government management system on sanitation that oversees harmful risk factors along the entire food supply chain from production to distribution. In the case of eggs, certification is available for the production as well as the distribution and consumption stage. The production stage accreditation is commissioned by the Agriculture Ministry and the distribution stage by the Food and Drug Safety Ministry, while the Korea agency of HACCP carries out the verification. Experts are trying to understand why the government's tax revenue predictions were so inaccurate last year and whether it may be necessary to replace traditional methods of coming up with the estimate. A National Assembly Budget Office report released Friday says the government collected 242.6 trillion won in fiscal 2016. That's 8% more than the 222.9 trillion won the government predicted a year earlier when drawing up the 2016 budget plan. Economists say inaccurate revenue forecasts can actually end up undermining trust in the government's financial management, as well as causing negative side effects, and that prediction methods must be improved. Global credit rating agency Standard & Poor's has maintained South Korea's sovereign rating at AA, as well as its stable outlook despite North Korea-triggered tensions on the Korean peninsula. The agency said in its latest release that S&P Global Ratings affirmed its AA long-term and A1 short-term sovereign credit rating on South Korea. It said that its stable outlook on the country also reflects its expectation that geopolitical risks on the peninsula will not escalate over the next 2 years beyond what it has seen since the leadership change in North Korea in 2011. S&P said the North appears to have achieved significant improvements in its weapons technology in the past few months, but nevertheless it views the likelihood of the North Korean regime provoking a major armed conflict on the peninsula to be low. It said this is because the North has little to gain from an armed conflict, which is only likely to cause political unrest. S&P added that chronic North Korea issues are potential downside risks for the South Korean economy, but that the South's fundamentals are believed to offset some of those negative repercussions. The ruling and opposition parties have agreed to hold an inaugural meeting of a legislative special committee on political reform on Monday. Representative Yoon Kwan-sok, who represents the ruling Democratic Party of the committee, told reporters Friday the meeting will discuss leadership and operation of the committee. The committee will take on the challenge of reforming laws regarding elections, political funding, and political parties' activities. The committee also plans to discuss revising how to elect lawmakers and lowering the voting age. The Voice of America says there are signs that China is strictly enforcing a UN ban on imports from North Korea. VOA said Saturday that the Chinese Commerce Ministry started to enforce the trade embargo on Tuesday in accordance with the UN Resolution 2371 adopted earlier this month to punish Pyongyang for its latest launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles. According to the U.S. international broadcaster, a video of Chinese traders protesting the import restrictions was circulating on social media networks in China. In the video, they were demanding compensation from the Beijing government for lost trade, while dozens of trucks carrying frozen crab, shrimp, and squid were lined up on a bridge connecting China to North Korea. The frozen marine products were shown melting in the scorching sun. Under the UN resolution, China is banned from importing coal, iron ore, lead ore, and fisheries products. North Korea is known to export $300 million worth of fisheries products to China annually. The U.S. government is reportedly looking at the issue of family reunions as a way to open dialogue with North Korea. Radio Free Asia reports the U.S. State Department recently requested a meeting with Divided Families USA, a national coalition working on the issue of Korean American relatives separated from family members in the North since the Korean War. David Lee, an official at Divided Families USA, tells RFA he provided information about 52 separated Korean family members to State Department Korea Director Mark Lambert and other officials. Lee said the State Department expressed intent to seek dialogue with North Korea about helping the families reunite. Defense Ministry spokesman Moon Sang-gyun has issued a statement expressing deep condolences following the death of a second active-duty soldier from an artillery drill accident. Military officials say a 22-year-old private first class surnamed Jong died early Saturday while receiving treatment at the Armed Forces Capitol Hospital. A 27-year-old sergeant first class died on the day of the incident, which took place Friday afternoon at an Army shooting range in Choron, Gangwon Province. 5 others were injured in the firing exercise of the K-9 self-propelled howitzer. A joint field investigation into the explosion is underway. The White House has issued a statement offering the Trump administration's gratitude and best wishes to departing chief strategist Steve Bannon. The statement says Bannon and the White House agreed Friday would be the final day for Trump's controversial advisor, who made headlines in Korea when he told the American Prospect magazine earlier this week there is no military solution to North Korea's nuclear threats. He said he might consider an unlikely deal in which the U.S. pulls out troops from South Korea in exchange for China stopping Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions. It's unclear to what extent those remarks may have cost Bannon his job or whether Bannon is departing on his own initiative. A newly published set of stamps featuring President Moon Jae-in is almost entirely sold out after just 2 days. The Korea Post says out of 5 million stamps issued, 4.95 million had been bought as of Friday, or more than 99%. Buyers formed long lines at some 220 post offices nationwide, and online buyers crashed the Korea Post's website for hours at a time. The popular stamps are already being resold online at markups of nearly 4 times the original price of 23,000 won. And that is the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul. I'm Kurt Asian.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Saturday Mailbag Show, KBS Listeners Lounge, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of South Korea.
It's Saturday, August 19th of 2017, and as always, we've got the latest listeners' letters, messages, and reports we receive from you coming right up.
So please stay tuned. I'm Lawrence Taylor.
And I'm Kim Ji-eun. We'll be right back. Hi, Lawrence.
Hi, Ji-eun. How are you today?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
I guess the rain sort of stopped, so that's good, because the other day, I guess it was Thursday, it was raining pretty hard, and it actually hurt to get rained on, because the raindrops are so big.
Unfortunately, on Tuesday, which was the Liberation Day here as well, it was raining a lot.
It was raining a lot, cats and dogs. But speaking of Liberation Day or Independence Day, we want to send out a big thank you to everyone who sent us messages, emails, and letters to congratulate us for the Independence Day, as well as the anniversary of the launch of KBS World Radio.
That's right. We not only received messages, but there were also photos, artworks, and even a poem as gifts. So thank you very much, everyone.
We especially got lots of messages from our listeners in India because, of course, India also celebrates their National Independence Day on August 19th. Our Indian monitor, Ratan Kumar Paul, sent us an image showing both the Korean and Indian national flags and wrote to us via email, wishing all friends of India and South Korea a happy Independence Day. August 15th is the Independence Day in both countries. We are going to celebrate our Independence Day and South Korean Independence Day with many programs. We're going to arrange flag hosting, an exhibition, drawing competition, and some cultural programs, etc. Hope you will be very glad to know of our activities.
That sounds great. Of course, we're always glad to know what you were getting up to, and we hope you had loads of fun. And although it's slightly belated, happy Independence Day to you too. Moving on, we also received a number of very touching messages from our listeners regarding the end of this program as well.
For those of you who may have missed out on our last show, we should tell you again that after today, there will be only 2 more episodes of Listener's Lounge.
That's right. A major reshuffle is coming up here on KBS World Radio for the English section, and there are some big changes are in the works, some good and some somewhat unfortunate.
For example, we're going to be on air for 5 hours a day instead of 2, so that's the good part. But unfortunately, we won't be able to continue having a program dedicated to sharing the letters and messages from our listeners from all around the world.
However, we will continue to broadcast on shortwave, and we will continue to issue the QSL cards, so you can keep on sending us your reception reports to the same address or via the email and online reports.
Needless to say, there will be frequency and schedule changes coming up very soon, and I believe all 5 hours worth of content we'll be producing will be getting airtime on the shortwave as well. We'll let you know the details as soon as they are finalized.
Meanwhile, we've asked some of our long-time listeners to share their memories of Listener's Lounge and also its predecessor mailbag programs with us. And as I said earlier, we received a number of touching messages in the past week already.
If you want to share your thoughts or comments on the program, there's still time. We want to share them on the air on our last 2 shows. So if any particular program, episode, or hosts come to your mind that you want to draw attention to, send us a line. We'll wait for your messages until at least the end of August.
And we also mentioned this last week too, but as many of you know, Ji-eun and I are both relatively new to this program, especially me, and it's been great reading about the show's past and history. Maybe writing to us about the old days will give you a chance to look back on the show too.
It really is quite amazing, and we really wish we weren't the ones bringing you the bad news.
Certainly not, but we do look forward to receiving more of your memories about the show. Thank you to those of you who have already sent us messages, and thank you also in advance to anyone we may hear from soon.
And speaking of sending us something before the end of the month, here's a quick reminder that the offline version of our Overseas Listener Satisfaction Survey is also due at the end of this month.
Right, only those that reach us by the end of August will be counted, so if you're yet to make the trip to the post office, we hope you can find the time to do so soon. Thank you very much for your troubles.
We're going to take a quick break now before coming back with the letters and reports of the week, so don't go away.
You're listening to KBS Listeners Lounge on KBS World Radio. It's time now for us to take a look at the listener letters and reception reports. As usual, we've received some fantastic handwritten, typed up, and emailed comments, letters, and reception reports from you, our listeners, and we'll share some of those with you on this program.
We'll start with the reception report we received in the mail from listener Anand Mohan Bain of India. It was dated May 5th, and on this day, Anand listened to us on 9.880 megahertz from 1400 to 1430 hours UTC. He rated the Simpo 4 across the board and wrote, I tuned into KBS with my Grundig Yacht Boy 400. Reception was good. KBS's presentations are all good, but other than 9.880 megahertz, reception is not good on all other frequencies. Thank you, Anand. And this is actually quite interesting because we usually get good feedback from other listeners in India regarding our frequencies like 9.640 megahertz and 9.515 megahertz. But what's more interesting is that he sent us the report on our reception report form issued in July of 1993 when KBS World Radio was known as Radio Korea International. Obviously, Anand has been listening to us for quite some time. So, Anand, if you're listening and if you have any fond memories of our current or former listener letter and feedback programs, please do share them with us. Thanks again.
Meanwhile, our monitor AKM Nurizaman of Bangladesh sent us his logs of the reception conditions on 9.880 megahertz from 1400 to 1500 hours UTC for the last week of July via email. He used a Sony ICF SW7600GR receiver with an indoor telescopic rod antenna, and the Simpo on the frequency stood at 3 across the board from July 24th through until the 31st. Thank you very much for your report.
Another one of our monitors in Bangladesh, listener Ashraful Islam, sent us a number of emailed reception reports as well. Using his Grundig Yacht Boy 80 digital radio receiver with the telescopic rod antenna, Ashraful said that he was able to listen to our broadcasts in good condition on August 2nd from 1400 to 1430 hours UTC on 9.880 megahertz. He gave the broadcast an SIO rating of 454. And on August 5th, he said that he listened to KBS Listeners Lounge from 1430 to 1500 hours UTC, again in good condition. He gave it an SIO rating of 454 once again. Thank you very much for your reports, Ashraful. And the next email we want to share with you is from our monitor, Jayanta Chakrabarti of India, who also listened to us on 9.880 megahertz. Jayanta heard us on August 13th from 1500 to 1600 hours UTC using a YB80 Grundig receiver with the telescopic antenna.
And he rated the Simpo at 54444, and he also wrote in the email, Dear Sir, Madam, I am happy to report on your shortwave broadcast to India on the 13th of August. The signal strength was good with minor occasional noise. The program content was informative and entertaining. I was impressed by the high quality of news reporting covering the economy, science and technology, tourism, sports and politics, among others. Being an academically qualified economist, I have a great interest in the socio-economic activities currently being implemented in Korea. KBS is the only reliable source wherein I can get authentic news of what is going on. Please keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much for that, Jayanta.
Our monitor from India, Mohammed Shamim S., sent us a monthly summary for the month of July. Here is what he wrote. Comments about KBS World Radio frequencies. Frequency 9.515 megahertz at 1600 UTC to 1700 UTC was loud and clear in my area in July of 2017. As for 9.640 megahertz, it was excellent for reception from 1600 to 1700 hours UTC in July. And 9.880 megahertz was average for reception in his area in July of 2017, Mohammed said. He added sometimes there was strong jamming from China Radio International, no surprise, but the signal strength had been strong. Thank you very much for the summary and, of course, your regular contributions, Mohammed.
Taking a look at a couple of online reception reports, listener Jordan Hayburn of Northern Ireland dropped by our website after listening to us on August 11th between 1600 and 1700 hours UTC on 9.515 megahertz. He used a Perseus SDR receiver with a Wellbrook ALA 1530 LN active loop antenna, and that yielded a SIMPO rating of 34444. Thank you very much, Jordan.
On the same day, listener Alexander Krings of Germany also listened to us on 9.515 megahertz from 1630 to 1700 hours UTC using an NN100D SDR transceiver with an 8-meter-long vertical antenna. Looks like the reception condition was a bit better for Alexander. He rated the SIMPO 55445, which is excellent, and he gave us some details about the contents he heard and also said that the signal got a bit weaker towards 1700 hour UTC and there was a little fading at times, but overall the broadcast was still very enjoyable to listen to. Thank you very much for your report, Alexander.
And going back to the UK, listener Janelle Rosanna Lakeland also dropped us a line on our online reception report board after listening to us on 9.515 megahertz on August 15th from 1630 to 1640 hours UTC. She used a SciShow SW5000 receiver with a 17-meter wire antenna, and she rated the SIMPO at 25532. Thank you very much for your report.
Here's one more on 9.515 megahertz. Listener Sandipan Basu Malik of India sent us an email that said, "Hello, greetings from India and wishing all the staff members at KBS World Radio happy Independence Day. Today, both India and South Korea are celebrating Independence Day. Of course, this was sent on August 15th. It's been over a year since I last wrote to KBS. However, this doesn't mean that I have stopped listening to KBS World Service. I am following your programs on shortwave as well as via the app and Facebook page as well. To commemorate our nation's independence, I'm penning down the reception report of your English language broadcast made on the 15th of August, logged between 1630 to 1700 hours UTC on 9.515 megahertz.
Sandapan rated the SIMPO at 34433, and he used the equipment was a Texan PL310ET receiver with a telescopic rod antenna, and he went on to write, "The signal was good to fair. There was occasional fade out of transmission, but the overall transmission was good to fair. Audio clips recorded from the logging are attached, which might be helpful for the technical team to analyze the reception conditions at Kolkata in India." And he attached 4 audio files to the email, which were all, of course, very helpful. So thank you very much for that, Sandipan.
Up next, we have a report from listener Tapan Basak of India. Tapan listened to us on 9.640 megahertz from August 9th through the 15th on 9.640 megahertz from 1600 to 1700 hours UTC. He used a 3-band Philip radio with an indoor antenna and rated the SIMPO 3 across the board for all 7 days, noting some fading with noise. Thank you very much for that, Tapan. We also received a report from listener Ramu Karthikeyan of India on August 14th via email. Ramu said had simply wrote that he listened to our news on 9.640 megahertz using a Sony receiver with an antenna, rating the SIMPO all 4s, and said that the transmission and audio had been good. Thank you for that, Ramu.
Next up, we have a report from listener Ralph Florence Tuazon from the Philippines. Ralph listened to KBS World Radio twice on August 16th using a Techno Tamashi TS 747R receiver with a telescopic antenna. He first listened to us on 9.570 megahertz from 0800 to 0900 hours UTC, and he rated the SIMPO at 44334. Later on, he tuned into us again on 9.640 megahertz from 1400 to 1500 hours UTC, and this time the SIMPO stood at 43333. Thank you very much for your reports, Ralph.
Opening up some more snail mails, our monitor Fumito Hokamura of Japan most recently sent us reception reports after listening to us on July 31st and August 1st. On July 31st, he listened to us on 9.580 megahertz from 0200 to 0300 hours UTC using an RT-750V receiver with the rod antenna. He gave us lots of information on the programs he heard, as always, including hot issues of the week and KPI, or K-pop Interactive, listing the summer songs he heard on the show. He rated the SIMPO 45433.
And on August 1st, he tuned into the same frequency at the same time with the same equipment, and the SIMPO also stood at 45433. He listened to the news, Seoul Calling, Korean folk tales, drama lines, and Business Watch. And he also gave us lots of details of the content he heard. And he wrote, "How have you been? There's been a heat wave in Fukuoka and nearby cities again this summer. There's also heavy rain in southern cities and towns in Fukuoka. I'm waiting for the Winter Olympics. There are just about 4 months to go."
It's really not long to go now. It's just 174 days to be exact, according to the website. And of course, that's a little longer than 4 months. But it feels like it was only last month or so that Pyeongchang was finally chosen as the host city. And I was thinking, man, 2018, that's never going to come, right? But it really is getting close. And it's also crazy that we literally only have a little over 4 months left in the year 2017, too. That's time is going.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going. It's in a rush.
I think when you're in the summer, it feels like the middle of the year. It's the same 4 months. Yeah, it's quite scary.
It is scary. Anyway, I believe we were experiencing both the heat wave and heavy rain around the end of July here in Seoul, too, weren't we?
That's right. We had some major bouts of rain, heavy rain earlier this week, but then the temperature just kind of plummeted after the rain, and now it's actually quite cool in the mornings and evenings, which is actually quite nice.
Yeah, but I think I saw on the news earlier, like on Friday morning, that it might get hot again next week, though. I'm kind of torn now because I find myself not wanting summer to end for some reason. I don't know what kind of reason that is, but yet at the same time, I don't think I could handle more heat. But yeah, seeing as how we're seeing the heat let up a bit, hopefully the weather is a bit less intense in Fukuoka as well. Thank you very much, Fumito, as always. And that's all the time we have for the letters, emails, and reception reports from you today. We'll be sure to send out the corresponding QSL cards to everyone who requested.
That's all we have for you this week on KBS Listeners Lounge. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been Lawrence Taylor.
And this has been Kim Ji-eun. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello, listeners. With a major reshuffle and expansion of our English broadcast coming up very soon, KBS World Radio English service will be carrying out test transmissions from August 21st to 24th. Our test transmission for European listeners will run on 9.515 megahertz from 1500 to 1600 hours UTC from Kimje for 3 days from August 21st to 23rd. For our listeners in Southeast Asia, we'll carry out the test transmission on 9.770 megahertz from 0800 to 1030 hours UTC from August 21st to 23rd. We'll also run a test towards India on 2 different frequencies. First on 9.835 megahertz on August 21st and 22nd, and the second on 9.785 megahertz on August 23rd and 24th, both from 1400 to 1700 hours UTC. If you live in the target areas, please tune into the frequencies during the test period and send us your reception reports. Your feedback will help us greatly in choosing the best frequency options. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to KBS World Radio. KBS World Radio is Korea's flagship international broadcaster, airing in 11 different languages. The English service of KBS World Radio broadcasts 2 hours a day for various media outlets, including shortwave radio, satellite radio, and internet. Visit our website at world.kbs.co.kr, where you can stream all of our content on our internet radio Wink by tuning into various channels like Wink 24 and Wink Music. Wink is also available on mobile if you download our on-air app onto your mobile phone. Visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/EnglishKBS or follow us on Twitter at KBS World Radio.